Picture a dinner party. Someone smiles across the table and says, "It's so brave of you to wear that outfit." On paper, it's a compliment. In reality, everyone in the room knows an insult just landed. In the study of logic, this tactic has a formal name: argument by innuendo. It happens when someone carefully selects their words to point you toward a specific conclusion, usually a derogatory one, without actually saying it out loud. Because the speaker never explicitly makes a negative claim, they maintain an escape hatch. If challenged, they can throw their hands up and insist they meant exactly what they said and nothing more. This dynamic is intentional, a calculated strategy to launch a critique while remaining unaccountable for the claim. The goal is to land an attack on an opponent while bypassing the rules of fair debate. To see why this breaks the boundaries of rational discussion, we can look at the framework outlined in T. Edward Dahmer's Attacking Faulty Reasoning. True logic requires strict adherence to structural rules. One of those core rules is the acceptability criterion. Any good argument relies on acceptable premises. If you make a claim, you must place actual, heavy evidence on the scale to support it. Innuendo creates an evidentiary void. The speaker uses the psychological power of suggestion to pull the scale down, compensating for a lack of facts. An implied suggestion cannot serve as a valid premise. When someone uses innuendo, they are attempting to influence a listener's belief without accepting the burden of proof. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. Imagine an employer calls a college dean to ask a simple yes or no question. Has a prospective hire ever been in any disciplinary trouble? The dean could just say no. Instead, they consult the file and reply, "We were never able to convict this student." Or perhaps they just say, "No, not yet." Those two extra words quickly plant a very specific suspicion. The employer immediately suspects the student is guilty of misconduct, even though the dean hasn't provided a single shred of actual proof. The manipulator succeeds here by providing the suggestive framework for a derogatory conclusion and leaving it to the listener to finalize the accusation. We see another variation of this in high-stakes political environments. A politician steps up to a crowded rally, looking to take down a rival without triggering a defamation lawsuit. They confidently lean into the microphone and directly ask, "If you knew my opponent was receiving money from illegal sources, would that affect your vote? Look into it. The facts might surprise you." This chart illustrates the mechanical advantage of the hypothetical question. A direct claim of corruption hits a solid wall, the demand for evidence. A hypothetical question loops over that barrier because technically no direct assertion was made. The hypothetical acts as a screen. It allows the attacker to inject toxic assumptions into the public record while maintaining legal and logical immunity. A third tactic relies purely on vocal delivery. Consider a conversation on a college campus where a student remarks, "I often see Professor Iskra, but never with his wife." If we map that audio, we can see where the manipulation happens. By spiking the emphasis on that final word, wife, the context shifts. It suggests an illicit affair rather than a simple observation about scheduling. This highlights the tension between literal truth and implied meaning. The literal words are factually accurate, yet the speaker uses that truth to suggest a conclusion they aren't prepared to defend with evidence. Facts can be weaponized through sheer delivery. How a sentence is engineered and spoken can be just as deceptive as an outright lie. To address innuendo, you can bring the hidden claim directly into the literal text. First, spell it out. State the unspoken conclusion out loud. Say, "It sounds like you are suggesting Professor Iskra is having an affair." Make the implicit explicit so it cannot be ignored. Second, demand justification. Insist the speaker provide hard evidence. Implied assertions require the same proof as spoken ones if they are to be taken seriously. Third, force the denial. If the arguer retreats and says, "I never said that," ask them to specifically deny the claim. This clarifies the record and neutralizes the intended damage. A sound argument requires the courage to make claims out loud and the integrity to back them up with proof. By holding others to these standards, you ensure that logical discussion happens in the light, not the shadows.